Hey Zach, this is Randy Hodges. This is Mike's dad, and I'm just going to kind of run through your video here real quick and just give you some pointers, some things that might help you out. Hope this helps. First thing I wanted to just point out to you was just as you start to lift your leg and you see how you turn your body. It's a little bit hard to see from this angle, but you can tell that your shoulders have turned to the point where your arms and your shoulders and everything are really pointed way off, almost into the dugout on the other side, because you've turned your shoulders. We can see this even more as you get to here. Back this up a few frames. So you've swung your arm out and your other arm, your pitching arm behind you, and if we drew a line here between your arms and your shoulders, your orientation is way over behind the right hand batter's box. So number one, you're just creating a kind of a velocity vector that's aimed at the right hand batter's box instead of being at the plate. So the first thing I would say is, as you lift your leg right here, number one, you probably lift it too high. It comes up really high, and lifting your leg that high really doesn't do much for you in terms of velocity. It's probably just a habit thing that you have. But I tell my guys that, you know, the highest you really need to lift your leg is about right there. It's about parallel. For one thing, it just takes a lot more time, and you don't give your catcher as much time to get the ball down to second base on a steal. But it also just creates a thing where you're kind of stuck up here. Now, you've probably been taught and coached to get to a balance point, and that's what you're doing here. That's a pretty common thing for people to coach. It's kind of an old method. If you look at a lot of the hard throwers in the MLB, in fact, most of them, when they get their leg up to its highest point, even if it's high like this, they are already working away from the rubber. And again, it's hard to see from this angle, but it looks to me like you're pretty much balanced over your back leg. And so what you have to do in order to get going forward is you've got to drop everything straight down to the ground. So you're nice and tall right there, which you really want to stay tall. And what you do is you shrink way down, you collapse that back leg, and you basically sit down in kind of like sitting in a chair. You sit on that back leg. That puts you in not as powerful a position. That puts your leg in not as powerful a position as if your body was more forward and you were not sitting down on that back leg. You can also see your front leg has started to move out here. You've kicked your front leg way out here, and then you're going to swing it into position instead of driving it toward the plate. So I'll just play this around, and you can see how your leg swings into position. What you really want to do is have that thing driving towards where you want it to go. So that's the first couple things I would take a look at, is just when you lift your leg and you bring your leg up into that set position, you want to be moving away from the rubber as your leg hits its highest point, and you don't want to turn your shoulders like that. Some guys will coach, show your numbers to the hitter, show your back pocket. That just creates rotational problems all over the place. So I would try and lift that leg, keep it a little bit straighter, and keep your shoulders oriented towards your target. Try not to straighten your front leg out so that it ends up out in front of you. You want it to go down towards the catcher instead of going out and swinging into position. And get that front arm as your shoulders are pointed toward the catcher. You want that front arm to extend toward the catcher. Right now it's extending way out behind the right-hand batter's box, and then you're going to pull really hard to get your shoulders back around to where they're supposed to be, in order to see that you've pulled that front arm way around behind in order to get back to where you're supposed to be. So your body's compensating right now for your orientation being towards the right-hand batter's box. It's trying to twist in order to get back to the strike zone. So what that's going to do, that's going to put your body in a really awkward position. You can see right here, and I'll just draw a line here that'll show kind of where your energy is. Your energy now, in order to get the ball back from the right-hand side, back into the strike zone has become very hard to the left. So part of your energy in your pitch, rather than going toward the plate, is going sideways in order to get the ball back into the strike zone. Okay, so you can see that tilt right there that you're creating. That's what your brain is doing to compensate for that orientation being wrong. So then you can also see that your front foot, rather than being, it really should be pointed, your toe should be pointed right at the right-hand batter's box. You can see your front toe, this is compensation for your orientation being wrong, but your front toe is oriented way over here. So this is over rotation in order to try and get the ball back into the strike zone. So you can see your pitch here still ends up, I'll just let this run, your pitch ends up way up and in, and that's really where your orientation is. In order to get it to the outside part of the plate, you'd have to rotate even harder than what you're doing. You'd spin off even harder, and you would lose velocity, and you're going to lose accuracy. So let me just run back to the beginning here. I would start by trying to get rid of that twist that you start and getting your orientation off to begin with. I would shorten your leg kick because you don't want it to be that tall, and as your leg hits the highest point, you should already be 6 inches to a foot away from the rubber. It's easier to see if you film from the side, so you might want to do that at some point. Try and keep your shoulders and your glove and everything oriented right toward the plate, rather than getting your arm behind you like you can see here. Try and keep it behind you. Again, it hides it from the batter, but also keeps it in a line, so you're not going to swing into position. Try and get your front leg to drive straight toward the plate, and then try, and if you fix that right there, it'll get rid of all this twist and all this out of balance, this position where you're outside of your front foot. You want to be right straight over that front foot. Your knee should be right over your ankle. Your hip should be directly behind your knee, and then that's going to take a lot of the tilt out of your head and your arm and your body in order to deliver the ball in a straight line to the plate. So those are just some of the things I see right away. I hope that helps you out. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me or Mike. If you can get video that's from straight in front of you, that's helpful. Also in front, this rear is also a good camera position as well. But if we can see you from the side and then either the front or behind, that's really helpful in seeing what's going on. So anyway, hope that helps, and we'll talk to you later.